Hi guys, just an idea that I've had which I want to share with you. But before I do that, I'd better do the homework. I'm using my trusty corn cob. Whoops, that was the ash. Um, and in it I've got Rattery's Red Rapparee. Again, this is another Oriental blend that I particularly like. And again, I've been using the Frank method of loading the pipe, which I'm finding a lot easier to keep alight. But yesterday, when I was smoking, as you do, your mind wanders, and I was thinking about pipes and, which one I was going to smoke today and which ones needed resting. And I was thinking why we rest them to dry them out, to help um, them to dry out. And I had a thought. It might be a stupid thought, so I want to see what you think. I thought about, a pipe that you put to rest, and usually we either put it that way up, some people put them that way up, depending on the pipe stand they've got. And I wonder what we did with them when we put them up, and why we don't do this. If I can get it out. Whoops. A little container of gel that you get in food samples or in lots of other things to keep them dry. And I thought, put it in your pipe and store your pipe up, and it helps your pipe to dry out, but it also keeps it dry. Seems a good idea, but then, like so many of my good ideas, there's always a reason why it shouldn't be done. But I wondered what you think, whether you think it's worth doing or not. It's been quite a hectic week for me this week. I normally run 2 Woritis groups. I ended up being conned into running them, really. I was a member of both groups. Then the lady who was running one needed help, and her friend spoke to me and said, would I mind helping her instead of just being a member, taking the money and stuff. That was it. Meanwhile, a few weeks later, this friend had a blazing row with the other group that I was in and walked out. But she'd asked me earlier on if I would take over from her when she couldn't do it, which I'd been doing. And the assumption was that I would take over from her. Which I was prepared to do. And really, it just involved giving the group homework at the end of the session and suggesting things to write during the session. And usually that was either by giving them a sentence or giving them 3 or 4 words that they had to include those words in their story, or giving them a suggestion for a poem, a type of poetry, that kind of thing. So not really any heavy work. But then, unfortunately, the lady in the other group died, so I'm now running 2 groups and taking the money for 2 groups. And there's a lot of money. I found out that they hadn't been banking it, they had no one in charge of it, there was no proper records kept or anything like that. So I said, right, we've got to have somebody to act as treasurer. And nobody'd do it. So I said, well, we've got to then have somebody act as running the group, and I'll act as treasurer. And again, no volunteers. So I told them, that's it. I'm leaving at the end of the month. And I think I've done the right thing, but it seems a hard thing to do when they're such a small group and enjoying what you're doing. But it just got so tiring for me. I'm still running the other group. And again, they're much the same, except I've got them to put money in the bank. I've got them to have somebody to act as treasurer and secretary. And so I can then just concentrate on giving them the writing things. So that's been going on. My wife's been sort of suffering a bit with her various illnesses, and we'd gone to have our eyes checked for with having diabetes, and she's told that she's now got retinitis, which will eventually lead to blindness, so it wasn't quite easy for her. So I'm sort of feeling now that I'm quite relaxed, ready for tomorrow, the giveaway. Hey, Lily! Sorry about that. That's the dog deciding that somebody walking down the street is trespassing on our property. What I intend to do tomorrow is to write all the names on pieces of paper, roll them up and put them in a container and get Carolyn to draw one out. I hope you think that's all right. Tim's not in it. He said he wouldn't come into it because if he won, he'd be terribly embarrassed, and I can understand that. So there's no reason for my wife not to give a clean draw. I want to end with a little story, as I usually do. There's this nun stood outside a public house, and this man's just about to go in, and she says, well, sir, I'm ashamed of you, the evils of drink and all that. Have you thought of giving it up? And he turned to her and said, well, have you ever had an alcoholic drink? And she said, never. Alcohol's never touched my lips. And he said, well, before you start commenting, don't you think you should try? So she looks at him and says, well, do you know, I've never thought of that. Perhaps you could suggest a drink for me. And he said, well, have you any idea what kind of drink you'd sort of like? And she said, well, it mustn't be a long one, because I don't want people to see me, and it shouldn't really smell on my breath. And you know, so he said, well, the best thing then is to have a gin and a bit of tonic in it, or vodka and tonic. So she said, oh, that right, I'll try that. She said, but could you ask the barman to put it in a cup? She said, because it would be terrible for me to be seen drinking. So I said, right, I will. A gin and tonic in a cup. So he goes up to the bar, and the barman comes across to serve him and says, yes, sir. he said, I'd like a gin and tonic, please. And could I also have a gin and tonic in a cup? And the barman looks at him and says, oh, God, the alcoholic nun's not outside again, is she?